Hello, hello. So I have finally come out of that fatigue episode that lasted 10 days, during which I have done the last three videos quite purposefully on the topic of fatigue, chronic fatigue, and what that might feel like, what it feels like for me at least, and hoping that whatever I have shared so far might help somebody one day. To finish off these three videos that I had in mind to do, I want to um, share what actually led to my breakdown. I won't go into great detail. That will be for another time. The yeah the the final straw. There was a final straw in the story. The final straw requires more details. So that's what I would share. I will share another time. But for now, I just want to share overall like what led to um, hitting burnout. And usually, for most people, as it was for me, was just taking on way, way, way too much. The thing is, though, that when you're in it, you don't feel like you're taking on too much. And this is the danger of it, right? So, I think if I had to give one piece of huge advice to anyone um, who might be hearing from loved ones that maybe they should slow down, is this: that there is actually major value in what your friends and family and loved ones are telling you. I started to hear from quite a few different people that maybe I should think about slowing down, and because I felt like I was on top of my game and I was having fun and I was enjoying my huge colorful life, I didn't listen. Um, I didn't listen. I think part of me was wondering whether they might have been right, but I didn't have enough time to really think about whether they were right or not before burnout hit. So for me, my life had become very, 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 very busy um, with various things. I don't work a traditional 9 to 5 job. I work lots and lots of different jobs for free, and and for the love and commitment of the love of it, I guess. Um, for the community, for my child, and all, like there were bigger, I guess, bigger motivations. You know, when you have a job, you go and work the job because you're going to get paid at the end of the week. Um, and that's a pretty big motivator right there. But when you work lots of different jobs and you don't get paid, um, you get paid in a different way, and that's because the motivation is just simply to give and to give back. And that's how it was for me. So I homeschool my child. She has been homeschooled for most of her school life, and um, I also then took on a side hustle. More like I created a side hustle. It wasn't something I took on, I created it for a bit of extra pocket money, and was also became a kids' church teacher, which was meant I was rostered on roughly every fortnight to do that, to facilitate learning of God's word on a Sunday for the kids at church. And I also took on helping an elderly lady with her shopping needs and social needs. So essentially, I was like a voluntary support worker for this elderly lady, and became, good friends with her and got to know her, and that was really lovely to do. Sometimes my child would come along because they homeschool, so because we homeschool, I should say. So it became part of our fortnight, because I was helping this lady every fortnight. So it became part of our fortnight. If my child came along, then that was part of her learning for that day, learning how to be a member of a community, I guess, and providing support and being there for an elderly person. I also do admin for my husband's business, so that didn't stop. During all that time, I was still doing that. So I was doing already, off the top of my head, 5 different things that I was committing to. Homeschooling is pretty much full time. It's a full time job, and on its own. But then, because life can be so flexible with homeschooling, it was really easy for me to go, oh, I can create this side hustle, and for sure I can help out this elderly lady, and for sure I can teach the kids at church on a once a fortnight. And it got to the point where I didn't know when enough was enough. The other thing too is that within homeschooling, I wasn't just teaching my daughter at home. I was creating opportunities for her by way of organizing homeschool excursions for the homeschool community. I also was running a Facebook group for homeschoolers, so that we were getting together every week at first, and then I tapered it back to every fortnight, and eventually became more like a once a month kind of a group, and it started tapering off towards the end there. But I was very, very, very busy running things for homeschoolers. I also facilitated like a local PE class for kids to come along every week. I was taking on payments for that and giving payments to the PE teacher. I was marketing it basically for the PE teacher, because she was doing us a big massive favor. She doesn't actually teach PE for kids. She was actually like a personal trainer, and I saw her advertising like a kids program, like a school holiday kids program, and I reached out to her and I said, I see you run this school program, this kids program on the school holidays. How would you feel running something similar during term for homeschoolers? And she said, yep, she was all for it. And she just required like a minimum number of kids and all of that. So it was up to me to kind of really be on top of that. And that took a lot of work. What else was I doing? I was also making sure that my daughter was attending lots of different activities. I was driving her to lots of different activities. Like she was going to a sewing class, and then she was going to like an adventure park once a week, and then she was going to still committing to her sports and her music classes and her everything that she has always committed to. Anything fun and interesting that would crop up, I would just sign her up for. And so we did a lot of what people call, I guess, car schooling or like road schooling, because you're learning on the go. So there was a while there that we were doing a fair bit of that. So I would test her maths, for example, just while driving, or we would play podcasts to listen to, like particularly on history, for example, and enjoyed learning that way. And so life was super, super duper busy. Like I did not get a spare minute to my name. It got to the point where I became quite proficient at loading up a basket in the morning full of water bottles for the day and lunches for the day. But then also planning, if there was like, sometimes my daughter finished one class and we only had a half hour to get to the next class, which was across town. I became pretty proficient at like leaving right on time, quickly grabbing maybe like specifically planning to grab a hot chocolate through McDonald's drive-through type thing, and to keep going, just to keep us going. Yeah, it was crazy, crazy times. I was up at 6 a.m. and would not get to bed till 12 or 1. Because if I wasn't driving my daughter somewhere, I was, yeah, doing my side hustle, which I would be continually advertising while she was in her classes, for example. So I was always on my phone, which kind of sucked because we homeschool for a reason. And I particularly did not enjoy not being present for my daughter while she was in her gymnastics class, for example. And there I was just on my phone because I'm busy putting the word out regarding my side hustle and all of that. So that kind of really sucked. Um, and yeah, and even when we got home, it was like, okay, get the housework done, get the washing done, pay the bills that are due, squeeze in some admin for my husband's business. And then it got to the point where kids' church was, because it took a fair bit of planning, it got to the point where I was actually just staying up the night before to plan it. And no, not the night before. It was kind of like the whole day before. Like I was spending all of Saturday just planning the lesson and not getting my family time in with my husband and my daughter. And it was crazy times. It was actually really super crazy times, like now that I think about it. Um, there were definitely things being left behind and neglected, like such as my poor dog. Like my poor dog got fed, didn't necessarily get walked or bathed regularly during that time. Um, One-on-one quality time with my husband really wasn't happening. Even time with friends wasn't happening at all. So, and just time for me, like I wasn't exercising, I wasn't, I honestly got to the point where I did not know what it meant to have spare time. Like I literally got to that point. I remember going to my 10-year high school reunion and I caught up with an old friend and I said, "Oh, are you on Facebook?" So Facebook was like a really new thing at the time. I said, "Are you on Facebook?" And she just kind of chuckled and she said, "Oh, who has time for that?" She goes, "I've got kids. I'm so busy." And I thought to myself, oh, because she said, "I'm so busy, I wouldn't even know what it's like to have a spare minute," or something like that. And I was still kidless at the time, so I was kind of like, huh? I don't get what you're saying. Like, if anything, I thought, how can you possibly ever be in a position that you don't have a spare minute to your name? Like that almost sounds pathetic. Like I just didn't understand it. Um, but then I actually became that person. I actually became that person. Now, I have to clarify here. When you're doing motherhood, especially motherhood, totally get it. Totally get it. I did have my own child some years later, and I looked back on that conversation and went, wow, yeah, I totally get it now. Um, but I really became that person. I became that person that actually wondered out loud one day, and I said, I don't know. I don't know what spare time is. I don't know what that feels like. I wouldn't even know what a hobby is. Like, I really got to that point. Now, I had friends and loved ones start to say, oh, things like, oh, are you sure you don't want to slow down? You're like trying to be superwoman and you don't have to be super mum, for example. And I'd be like, no, but I'm having so much fun. Like, it's my ADHD. Like, I totally love all the things. And it makes life interesting. And but I love it. I love being this busy. And those were all my constant replies. There was a part of me that was especially in the last, so this went on for about 5 years. It was like a good bit of time. This went on for about 5 years, and then I during which so this whole sort of biz, a period of business lasted for 5 years, during which I started to feel maybe about halfway through that 5 year period, started to feel like I was struggling. I was struggling deep down. I felt achy and breaky all through my body, like every single day. I would wake up every morning and think to myself, here we go, same old. Like, and I'd actually berate myself. I would think to myself, why are you like this? You're being so ungrateful. You have the most amazing life. Your daughter has the most amazing life. You're living, you have a life that people would envy. You've got all the flexibility in the world. You don't um answer to a boss. You get to take holidays whenever you want. Um, why are you being like this? But there I was, like hanging washing at midnight, pretty regularly, and because that was the only time I could do my washing, and thinking to myself, is this really how it is? Like, is this it? Like, is this what it comes down to? And I started to feel like I was struggling. Then the world stopped thanks to COVID in 2020, and we had lockdowns where I am for about 3 months. It wasn't very long. Um, Maybe a bit longer. I think the longest lockdown we had was definitely 3 months, and then we had like lockdown stints for the rest of the year. And I was actually one of these people who absolutely loved that my world had come to a dead stop. A whole lot of people were like, oh, I suppose the lockdowns don't affect you so much because you homeschool. And I was like, I would just kindly say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. I didn't want to just say to them, you know what, I'm actually in the middle of burnout right now, and you just wouldn't understand. And I didn't, because I don't. There's a time and place for certain conversations, but deep down, I was like mentally grabbing those people by the neck and just shaking them, going, "You don't understand. You don't understand." Like, yes, our life didn't really change all that much, in the sense that, to be honest, we could still head out, because my husband works in an industry that didn't shut down. We only have one child, so like we were still able to visit people, because only up to two visitors were allowed at one stage. So that meant that my daughter and I were still able to visit people, and things like that. So life was quiet, but it was beautifully quiet for me, beautifully quiet. And then as everything started opening up, I actually didn't want to jump back into all that busyness. So I actually allowed myself maybe a good 6 months, um, slowly getting back out into the world again. But legit, by the end of that 6 months, I was right back into it and as busy as ever. So this takes me to about the last half of 2021, and I started off the beginning of 2022 completely burnt out again. It was almost as though the lockdowns during 2020 had just done nothing. I was back to feeling achy and breaky all through my body. Just every single day, I was, yeah, just not eating properly, running around. I was no longer managing a Facebook group for homeschoolers, or the PE class for homeschoolers, or anything like that. I was probably not as busy as I had been, but I was on such level of burnout that I was once again questioning, how on earth did I end up here? Like, how? And then a traumatic event happened to me, which I will tell about one day in a different video, when I feel the time is right, or the time to share it. But after that traumatic event actually led me into complete and utter um, nervous breakdown. Um, I I was completely fatigued for a good 6 months, unable to do much at all. I wasn't able to do any housework. I all I could do, all I had energy for, was laying around, um, on the couch or out in the sunshine, just reading books and painting my nails and really, really not doing much. It was crazy, crazy times. My whole world stopped once again. And this time it wasn't because of COVID or government mandated lockdowns. It was because my own body made me stop. After that initial 6 month period, I had 18 months of regular episodes that would come, I guess, once a week. So I was keeping to a very low, quiet kind of a life, but even then on weekends I was fatigued from beginning to the end of the weekend. There was not much I could do. I wasn't attending family events and things like that. And then since then, it's been about 6 months, and these last 6 months, um, I'm still experiencing these episodes as I've just shared in the last few videos, but they're just not as bad. And all I have to say really is my hugest advice to anyone who is starting to hear from loved ones: hey, do you think you should maybe slow down? Or are you sure you're not taking on too much? Or wow, listening to you is just exhausting. Any comments like this, as narky as they can seem, or as challenging as they can seem, or as or maybe you might feel like you're being put down by the person that's saying anything. Um, my big huge advice is actually just listen. There really is value. I have had to learn this. My breakdown has had to teach me. I've had to learn that there is actually immense value in what in the feedback that loved ones are giving to you. So have a listen and start putting things into place to slow life down. Otherwise, your body will make it stop for you, and it's not fun. It really isn't fun. I'm still healing from it, on a healing journey, and I don't know how long it will take. And it's just not cool when I am fatigued and miss out on life because of it. Anyway, so yeah, all the best to you, busy ones. Don't do what I did. Don't do what I did. Have a listen to your loved ones. Okay, all the best. Bye.